I'm going to pick up the research torch again and speak a little bit about another study that we do every year, which is the state of digital publishing in Canada. So we've run the study now for 3 years. It's a publisher of, it's a survey of publishers primarily or digital creators. So I'll just step right into it. So I pulled one comment directly. We asked for comments from publishers as well, and so this came directly from our survey. So digital is the future. Whenever a digital book does exceptionally well or otherwise shows potential, we'll produce paperbacks and audio versions too. Now, while I'm not sure I agree with digital is the future, I think we're there right now. But I like the sentiment here because this has changed a lot in the years that we've been doing Tech Forum and the years that I've been in the industry. It used to be the other way. Right? We used to do physical and then maybe decide to do a digital and an audio, and now we're seeing the digital first, and then maybe we'll do a physical and an audio. And it's kind of what we always hoped as a technology company. It's what we thought would always happen. So I really thought this was an interesting comment. So a lot of the stuff I'm going to present today will be available in our study in the next week or two. So it's an online survey, 3rd year. Anyone who responds, if you're in the room and you responded to our survey, we thank you. You get early access to the report. So we had about 60 respondents this year. That doesn't seem like a lot, but that 60 respondents represents about 75 to 80% of the trade book sales in Canada. So those publishers are pretty much. We did have some higher ed and some STM answer, but a very small portion of those markets is a very trade-focused study. We'd like those other ones. 66% of our respondents are small publishers, 25% are mid-sized, and 9% are large. We have some self-published authors. We're trying to reach into that community to get better answers there too, but it's still a very small portion. So the very first question is, do you produce ebooks? 95% of our respondents are either producing ebooks right now or are planning on producing digital ebooks. This has remained remarkably consistent for the last 2 years anyway. I realize that ebooks are not the only form of digital publishing, but we actually ask about ebooks. So there may be other publishers who don't do ebooks, who do online or do apps. We do ask about apps, but the app numbers are very small. So the main reasons for producing ebooks, 2014 is at the top there, yes, and 2015 is at the bottom. Really hasn't changed all that much. Most of the respondents are producing ebooks to get more sales. Right? The interesting thing here is that the light gray one, second from the bottom, which is testing different production methods. It's interesting that it really went up year over year. It's a phenomenon we sometimes see when we're looking at business data and things like that. When sales tend to plateau or go down, people look at other ways to make money from their investment, right? So they make capital investments. So one of the things that it seems maybe publishers are doing, we need to explore this more, is investing more in the production methods in the workflow, which is probably good in the long run. Once ebook sales pick up or start to go up again, which they will, it'll be interesting to see how many publishers can take advantage of the changes more quickly. So when we look at titles, 67% of all of the active titles in the market from the publishers that contributed to our survey have been switched to digital. So it's growing a couple percent. Year-over-year growth is slight, but it is definitely trending up. As we know, there's not a lot of other content to create into digital formats. A lot of the stuff that sells and is active has been done. Now, there may be lots of opportunities to sell backlist better or to pick up stuff from way back and repackage it and rebrand it, but stuff is being converted, and it seems like the conversion rate is slowing down as we get to kind of the whole market, which makes sense. So out of the ebooks that those publishers have, overall, 73% of the active titles registered to sale last year. So that's an opportunity, I think. There's 27% of those titles that didn't register a sale last year, right, that are active. That's what publishers are telling us. Again, this may be a flattening of sales, or the titles that are being digitized are not selling. Backlist, maybe it's a pricing problem. We have sessions about that coming up. 53% of respondents say that more than 50% of their backlist is available as ebooks. So there's still opportunity there to take advantage of. When do you release your ebooks? We hope that everyone does it simultaneously, and that seems to be the way we're trending. So we've seen a little bit of a growth, about 2% within the margin of error, of people who say they're releasing them simultaneously. There's lots of reasons why they should be releasing them simultaneously, and we hope that everyone goes in that direction. So 29% of our respondents have a digital originals or digital first program. Almost all large publishers say they have a digital only program. Approximately 60% of those publishers have about of all the publishers who have a program, have about 1 to 25 digital originals. It seems to be something that people are exploring, but haven't gone fully into yet, but it's an opportunity. We also ask the respondents about the type of enhancements that they add to books. So it hasn't changed much out of the number of publishers who are putting enhancements in books, whether they be video or audio or any of those things. It stays consistent at about 23%. What we have seen is that the percentage of publishers who do not plan to produce enhanced ebooks has gone up considerably. It's gone from 30% to 43%. And that might have something to do with one of the next questions we ask, which is, do you see any impact from adding enhancements to your ebooks? 73% of all of our respondents say there has been no impact or slight impact on sales. So that is something we know right now, right? If people are reading on dedicated e-readers, enhancements don't have a lot other than the linked tables of contents and things like that. It's just not affecting sales in the way we thought it might, or the people thought it might. Interestingly enough, 18% of our respondents said, and this needs more exploring, 18% of our respondents said that enhancements actually had a negative impact on sales. So it distracted from the book experience. I'm not sure if that's completely true, but it's interesting. Increases in audio year over year and decreases in video. More publishers are adding audio and decreasing in video. Small numbers, though. We ask about fixed layout, and we talked a lot about this at ebookcraft over the last few days. So 57% of our publishers are producing fixed layout ebooks, mostly in the kids and in the trade, in the kids text and STM, but it goes all over the place. They're mostly being produced for the iPad with the Kindle Fire, a distant second, and then a huge drop-off for Nook, Kobo, and Overdrive. Related to this question, we do ask about EPUB 3 and what the adoption rate is for EPUB 3. 55% of our respondents say they plan to adopt EPUB 3 that haven't already adopted the option, and then we've had a 10% increase in the number of unsures. And that's just with the slow adoption, I think, of EPUB 3. Which channels generate the most sales for publishers? Online retailers generate the most sales for publishers for digital books. But there's been a growth in library, wholesale, and subscription services, not huge. We do ask publishers which of these online retailers are generating the most of their revenue. Kobo is number 1 in Canada, Amazon, and then Apple. We talk about digital revenue. This is 2015 and 2014. So 80% of respondents say that 1 to 20% of their revenue comes from ebook sales. Slightly down year over year, with the flattening of the market, I think. We also asked, did the revenue increase from 2014 to 2015? No, it mostly stayed flat, and that goes with everything we heard. But revenue in 2016, 65% of our respondents expected revenue from ebook sales to go up in 2016. So there's a positive outlook anyway. We talk a little bit about accessibility and how many people are doing accessibility. 50%, fully half of our respondents have not looked at including any accessibility features in their ebooks. This is a lost opportunity, I think. 1 in 7 North Americans have a reading disability of some sort. This is an underserved market by a lot. I would urge you to have a look at the ebookcraft presentations that happened yesterday, particularly have a look at Laura Brady's presentation on accessibility and just see what the options are that are out there. So most publishers that are doing this are adding navigational aids, alternate tags or formats, semantic tags, and enable text-to-speech audio in their books. This is a key area that's underserved, so there's an opportunity here. Talk to CNIB and CELA as well, too. They're key on this. Or you can have a look at BISG's Quick Start Guide to Accessible Publishing, which is available from their website, I think for free. It just came out a couple days ago. It's got best practices for how to do digital publishing and add accessibility features. It was mentioned yesterday by some of the panelists at ebookcraft that the IDPF is the standards body responsible for EPUB, that they're taking a proactive approach to making sure that the EPUB standard has accessibility in it. As opposed to just saying you should do it, they're going to actually start to, not enforce it, I want to say, but start to bake it into the standard a little bit more. So it's critically important. This is a great paper, too. Library pricing schemes for ebooks in libraries, hot topic. 76% of respondents said they sell to public libraries. Most people use a pricing scheme that's either the same as retail or a multiple of retail. You can see the chart, that's the next, that's the green kind of bars there. The next one is same as retail but with loan limits, and then the others are like time limits and some other stuff. Some people price their back list different than their front list when they're selling to libraries with loan limits or time limits. There's so many pricing ways that they can do this. It's kind of crazy, but it's mostly stayed pretty consistent year over year. The number one wholesaler for library accounts is Overdrive, followed by Baker and Taylor, and then Hoopla. We also ask about bundling, back to my consumer presentation for this morning. So there's been a slight increase in respondents of publishers that say they're interested in bundling. And you may remember from this morning, or part of this morning, 33% of consumers say they're interested in format bundling and would pay a higher price for bundles or pick one book over another if a bundle was available. This is format bundling. So this may be partly from Shelfie and Bitlit. 16% of publishers are producing digital audiobooks. From my this morning presentation too, there seems to be consumer demand, but still not a lot of content, or maybe not enough content. The thing we hear from libraries is all the time is there's not enough Canadian audiobook content. Give us your content and we will make it available. So I know I've done presentations for publishers before. I know the expense in producing audiobooks, but this is a growing, as we've talked about this morning, it's such a growing segment of the market that it's something I don't think you can leave on the table any longer. And our publishers feel that way too. So 75% of our respondents felt that they were going to see an increase in audiobook sales next year. And then 12% thought it would stay the same at 13%. Which audiobook retailers are being used? Well, it's mostly through Audible, iTunes, Google Play, Overdrive, Simple Audiobooks, and Direct, and Hoopla's at the very bottom. But Audible's the big one, the Amazon property. So, but have a look at these different retailers. Some of them will actually help you convert your books, so there's opportunity there as well. And that's a really quick summary through our state of digital publishing.